The Legend of Jigong, Chapter 85.
Well, let's jump right into that friction then, because the text drops us right into the middle of an assassination attempt.
It really just throws you in.
It does. We start with these two thieves, Sheng Yang and Chen King, and they're hiding under a bed in an inn, just waiting to ambush Jigong. So they scramble out, draw their blades, and prepare to strike. And Jigong, he doesn't panic. He doesn't even engage in combat.
Right.
He just points a finger. He uses a technique the text translates as body-fixing magic, and these two hardened criminals are instantly frozen dead in their tracks.
There's just statues.
Literally statues.
And, the casual nature of that interaction, it establishes the baseline of his power immediately.
How do you mean?
Well, in a lot of Western fantasy, think of the frantic wand waving in Harry Potter, or the exhausting spell casting in Tolkien magic usually requires immense physical or vocal exertion.
Right, they're always sweating or passing out after casting a big spell.
Exactly. But here, Jigong's magic is just an extension of his enlightened state. He isn't breaking a sweat to stop a physical threat because, to a truly enlightened being, the physical threat is an illusion anyway.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's this effortless, casual control over reality.
I love that distinction. That makes so much sense. But while he's casually defying the laws of physics in that room, there's another group on their way to meet him, and the contrast is just incredible.
Well, the constables?
Yes. We have 4 constables. Chai Yuanlu, Du Zining, Yang Gudong, and Yin Shixong.
Right.
And they're traveling alongside these 2 young Taoist novices to the Beixing Taoist temple. And what unfolds on the road is, it's essentially a magical drag race.
It's so good. The author provides such a brilliant comedic shift in tone here.
Yeah.
You have the constables and the young novices, and they just start flexing their supernatural travel ability.
It's just totally showing off.
Completely. The text specifies that the young novices use a Taoist technique called riding the wind.
Okay, what is that exactly?
So this is a spiritual elemental magic that allows them to just absolutely leave the 4-seasoned weapon-carrying constables in the dust.
And the veteran cops are just mortified. Like Chai Yuanlu, who's one of the head constables, he actually asks the teenagers to slow down so they can travel as a group.
Yeah, which is embarrassing enough.
Right. But the novices basically brush them off and say, we would, but you guys are simply too slow. We know how to ride the wind.
So good.
So Chai's ego just flares up. He claps back, claiming, well, we know the land flying technique. You slow down, we'll speed up, we can go together.
Let's actually look at the mechanics of what's happening there, because land flying is traditionally rooted in Jigong.
Which is what?
It's the martial arts technique of extreme lightness and agility.
Ah, okay. Like in those wuxia movies.
Exactly, like Crouching Tiger.
Yeah.
It's physical prowess pushed to a superhuman degree, whereas riding the wind is elemental magic. So the constables are basically trying to match spiritual magic with physical magic, just to save face.
That is hilarious.
And the internal monologue the text provides is where the real genius lies.
Oh yeah, tell me about that.
Well, when they finally arrive at the temple, Chai and Du, they don't even wait for the novices to knock on the door. They just leap straight over the temple wall.
Like completely unprompted.
Unprompted. And the text explicitly tells us that Chai and Du want to prove to Yang and Yin, who are the out-of-town constables, that they aren't incompetent locals.
Which, of course, prompts Yang and Yin to immediately jump over the wall right behind them.
Naturally.
Because they, in turn, need to prove to the locals that even though they are from out of town, they're elite law enforcement, too.
It's a complete ego trip.
I look at this scene and I can't help but see a petty office rivalry. It's hilarious that these men have literal superpowers. They can defy gravity, but they are burning their energy just to flex on their coworkers.
It's very relatable.
It is. But I have to wonder, is the author just playing this for laughs, or is there a deeper commentary on the human element in this fantasy setting?
Taking that a step further, I think it actively grounds the narrative in sociological reality. You might introduce the ability to levitate into a society, but magic doesn't erase human insecurity.
That is such a good point.
It doesn't eliminate workplace politics or that desperate need for peer validation. In fact, the text explicitly refers to this exchange as a battle of minds, not words.
Oh, so they're not even talking.
Right, they aren't having an open argument. They're just engaging in silent, hyper-competitive posturing.
If you were listening to this on your commute, just think about the last time you were in a cross-departmental meeting where 2 managers were subtly trying to out-jargon each other to impress the boss.
Oh, we've all been there.
That is exactly what is happening here, just translated into ancient martial arts.
And the author is really demonstrating a profound understanding of human nature. When you introduce a disruptive technology, or in this case, a supernatural ability into a world, people don't suddenly become enlightened, perfectly rational beings.
Right, they're still just guys.
Exactly. They use that new power to serve their very old, very flawed human desires. These constables are supposed to be focused on a high-stakes law enforcement mission, tracking dangerous criminals. But instead, their primary concern is establishing a pecking order.
Well, we just saw how the constables' egos nearly hijacked their focus, but that petty vanity quickly crashes into a brick wall of reality once they actually get inside the temple.
Yeah, reality hits fast.
Because they jump over the wall, land in the courtyard, and there is Jigong standing with the two frozen thieves. So the constables ask the obvious question. Are these the guys? Is this Hoa Yunlong or the operative who stole the document?
Jigong informs them that no, these are just low-level thugs who tried to ambush him.
Right, just random assassins.
But he instructs the constables to tie them up anyway. Because, I mean, you can't just leave frozen assassins lying around an inn.
Obviously not. But this instantly creates a massive, non-magical logistical nightmare.
It really does.
They have two immobilized prisoners, and they need to transport them to the county magistrate for official processing. But as they prepare to leave, Jigong issues this chilling warning.
A very serious warning.
He tells them under no circumstances should they parade these prisoners openly down the street. He explicitly states that Kiowa County is completely overrun with thieves.
Yes. Like if the constables march them in the open, the local gangs will ambush them, free the prisoners, and just slaughter the constables in broad daylight.
And that warning fundamentally shifts the world building for us.
How so?
Well, we're zooming out from the localized magical heroics of freezing two guys in a bedroom to seeing the terrifying macroeconomic reality of Kiowa County.
Okay, right.
The bigger picture.
The institutions of law enforcement are vastly outnumbered by organized crime. The criminal network is so entrenched and so brazen that they are willing to wage a street war against armed government officials just to protect two low-level operatives.
Wow.
It speaks to a systemic failure of the state.
Which makes Jigong's solution to this problem absolutely bizarre.
It really is.
To avoid this gang ambush, he basically masterminds a smuggling operation. He has the two thieves wrapped incredibly tightly in these heavy brocade quilts.
Just bundled up.
Right. Then he hires local porters, just everyday laborers, to carry these massive, heavy bundles. Naturally, the thieves are suffocating inside these quilts, so they're squirming and thrashing around.
As you would.
Yeah. So one of the hired porters looks at this heggy, wriggling blanket and quite reasonably asks, what on earth is in there?
A very fair question.
And Jigong lies directly to his face. He says they are taking an offering to the magistrate, and it's a delivery of preserved eggs. Or, depending on the translation you read, sometimes it's rendered as variable eggs.
And the porter is totally confused and says he has never heard of such a thing.
And Jigong just completely brushes him off. He just tells him not to ask questions and just keep walking.
Yeah.
I mean, the physical comedy of these laborers carrying squirming human-sized lumps while being told it's just fancy eggs is a brilliant tension breaker.
It's hilarious imagery.
But I have to be honest here. Reading this section, Jigong looks incredibly incompetent.
You think so?
I mean, think about it. He's a magical demigod. He can freeze people with his mind. The constables can literally fly over walls, yet he's resorting to hiding guys in blankets and running a slapstick, 3 men in a trench coat style smuggling routine.
Right.
Why not just magically teleport the thieves to the jail? Or make them invisible? Why stoop to this level of mundane, street-smart deception? It feels like a massive plot hole.
Well, it feels like a plot hole until you understand the underlying sociology of the magic system in this specific universe.
Okay, explain that to me.
Because in a lot of contemporary fantasy, magic is a cure-all. If you have a problem, you cast a spell, and the problem goes away.
Right, like a magic wand.
But in this narrative, magic is a highly specialized tool with rigid boundaries. Think of Jigong's magic like a sniper rifle.
A sniper rifle.
Yeah. It is incredibly powerful and precise against a specific, localized physical threat, like stopping two guys with knives in a room. But the corruption in Kiowa County isn't a single target. It is a toxic fog, and you cannot shoot a fog.
Oh, okay. So you can freeze a mugger, but you can't freeze the mafia.
Exactly. The systemic corruption in the town is a social disease, not a mystical one. If Jigong just started blasting his way through the streets with magic, or teleporting prisoners, he'd cause a mass panic.
Yeah, that would draw a lot of attention.
Immense attention from the entire criminal underworld. And that would likely trigger a full-scale gang war against the fragile local government. He uses human cunning to bypass human corruption because he respects the sociological reality of the town.
Ah, so he has to operate within the limits of the bureaucracy he's actually trying to protect.
Precisely that. He understands that to dismantle a criminal enterprise that relies on secrecy and overwhelming numbers, he has to outcon them. He isn't arrogant about his divine powers.
Right, he knows the constables would be slaughtered if they try to act tough.
Yeah. The preserved egg ruse is absurd, yes, but it is effective specifically because it uses the everyday, mundane commerce of the town as camouflage.
Oh, that makes sense.
The criminals aren't looking for magic. They're looking for cops. So by blending into the invisible working class of porters and laborers, Jigong becomes invisible to the syndicate.
Wow, that reframes the entire scene for me. Okay, so the decoys are successfully smuggled out, and step 1 is complete. But to actually catch the main targets, Jigong needs to lay a trap.
And this is where the secular authority comes in.
Yes. He heads over to the Iron Butte Town Inspection Office to meet with Inspector Liu Gushin.
And this transition from the streets to the bureaucratic office gives us one of the most culturally revealing character interactions in the entire text.
It is so incredibly tense, yet funny. So the constables arrive at the office first and formally announce that the great holy monk Jigong is on his way.
Building up the hype.
Right. And shortly after, Jigong arrives. But instead of acting like a revered holy man, he immediately starts a comedy routine with the guard at the door.
It's so awkward.
He refuses to use proper titles. He walks up to this government sentry and asks if the boss, using a term you would use for like a shop manager, is in. And the guard is deeply offended. He corrects Jigong, saying, "This is a government office. There is no boss here. There is a master," referring to the magistrate.
Standard protocol.
But then Jigong retorts, "Well, if there is no boss, is there an uncle?"
And the guard's reaction is very telling. He actually threatens to physically beat Jigong for being insolent.
And in response, Jigong just confidently announces himself as Jidine of Lingyan Temple, essentially demanding VIP access.
Just totally unfazed.
When I read this, I immediately thought of someone intentionally messing with a mall cop, just trying to get a rise out of them. But Jigong isn't a teenager. He has the authority of a genuine holy man.
Right.
So my messy theory here is that he just has zero social awareness because he's been living in a monastery. I mean, why does he intentionally antagonize the very bureaucracy he desperately needs help from?
Well, the historical context of the bureaucracy actually complicates that theory. His irreverence isn't just lack of awareness, it's highly purposeful. It's weaponized linguistics.
Weaponized linguistics.
Yeah, you have to look at the rigid linguistic hierarchy of ancient Chinese bureaucracy. In the Ming or Qing dynasty context, which heavily influenced how this Song dynasty tale was written down, titles demanded absolute, unquestioning deference.
Okay.
Master, or Laowei, implied secular dominion over the commoners.
Ah, so by refusing to use the word, he is refusing the dominion.
Exactly. By using commercial terms like boss, which is zanggi, or familial terms like uncle, he is actively refusing to acknowledge the secular authority's power over him.
That's a huge slight, isn't it?
But to call a Confucian government official a merchant was a subtle but massive insult in their social hierarchy. By playing the fool and pretending not to understand these basic protocols, Jigong establishes his dominance in the situation before he even sets foot in the inner office. He forces the government officials to step out of their rigid comfort zones and deal with him on his terms. He's a spiritual authority, and he refuses to bow to earthly bureaucracy. It is a profound power move disguised as buffoonery.
And the incredible thing is, the power move works. The inspector doesn't throw him in jail. He rushes out to greet him respectfully.
Because he recognizes the authority.
Right. So they sit down, and Jigong outlines the sting operation. He tells Inspector Liu to send a messenger with his official government-stamped calling card directly to the Iron Buddha Temple.
And this is key.
Yeah. The messenger is instructed to claim that local wealthy gentlemen want to fund a massive temple renovation, and they need a representative to come to the office to discuss the budget. This is the bait to lure the thieves out of hiding.
Which is a brilliant trap because it targets the specific pathology of the criminals. You know, to understand why a fake temple renovation is so irresistible to this syndicate, We really have to look closely at the villains hiding inside the Iron Buddha temple.
Let's do it, because the narrative shifts its focus over to the temple, and the text introduces an incredible rogues gallery. These names alone belong in a comic book.
The epithets are incredibly evocative. The text lists the leader, Golden-Eyed Buddha, Jigong Rui.
Love that.
You have the universe-stealing rat, Hua Yunlong.
That one is amazing.
There's the daytime lame monk, Feng Yuanzi, black-faced Ping Zhen, and the 10,000-flower monk, Shu Heng.
Universe-stealing rat is quite possibly the greatest criminal alias I have ever heard.
Right. It implies an ambition that goes far beyond petty theft. And the text notes that their network is expansive, mentioning another operative, Xu Pei, who recently left for Longyu County.
Oh, so they're spread out.
Yeah, they aren't just hiding out in this holy site to lay low. They are actively operating a massive county-wide racket.
And it is a racket of the most cynical, devastating kind. So across the 800 villages of Kaiwa County, the local populace is suffering from a terrible epidemic.
Just terrible.
The text describes it as a swelling or dropsy disease. We know historically that dropsy, what we now call edema, was a symptom of severe underlying conditions like heart failure, kidney disease, or severe malnutrition.
Very serious stuff.
And no matter what local physician they see, no one can cure it. But a rumor has swept through the county. There is one guaranteed cure, but you have to go to the Iron Buddha temple and pray directly to the Iron Buddha.
Now, if you are a listener wondering how a criminal gang convinces 800 villages that they hold a magical cure, you have to remember the historical reality of medieval medicine.
What was the landscape like?
Temples often function as the only hospitals or dispensaries available to the poor. The line between medicinal remedy and spiritual miracle was incredibly blurry.
But these criminals are heavily taxing that miracle.
Very heavily.
The temple charges a rigid, non-negotiable fee for this cure. If you are from a poor family, it costs one string of cash. If you are from a rich family, it costs one tael of silver. Let's pause and establish the economics here. A string of cash usually refers to 1,000 copper coins strung together on a cord.
Right.
For a peasant farmer, that could represent months of labor. A tael of silver is high-value bullion. This isn't a minor copay. This is generational wealth being extorted.
The economic devastation of this scam is staggering. And the text implies a level of orchestration that is truly chilling.
I mean,
Well, while it doesn't explicitly say they engineered a biological weapon, their absolute monopoly on the cure heavily implies they are either fiercely gatekeeping a known remedy or they're somehow responsible for the outbreak in the first place.
that's terrifying.
They have totally weaponized the community's desperation.
They're essentially holding the entire county's health for ransom.
Building on that, look at the psychological manipulation involved. By hiding their extortion behind the sacred facade of the Iron Buddha, they legitimize the theft.
Oh, wow.
To a desperate, dying villager, handing over their life savings doesn't feel like being mugged in an alleyway. It feels like making a required religious offering to the divine.
They don't even know they're being robbed.
Exactly. The criminals have hijacked a sacred space to run the perfect crime because the victims don't even realize they are victims. They believe they are participating in a spiritual transaction.
That makes the exploitation so much darker. They are targeting the most vulnerable demographic imaginable, the sick, the dying, the desperate, and they are using their deep-seated religious devotion against them.
It's pure evil.
And that context is exactly why Jigong's trap with the inspector is so brilliant. Jigong knows these men are driven by bottomless greed.
Right, they can't help themselves.
They are already running a highly lucrative extortion racket, so when a government messenger shows up promising that wealthy gentlemen want to dump a fortune into a temple renovation, they aren't going to suspect a trap. They're just going to see dollar signs. The bait is perfectly tailored to exploit their hubris.
It is pure psychological warfare. Jigong understands that unearned wealth makes criminals sloppy.
So the trap is set in the inspector's office, the bait is dangled at the temple, and one greedy criminal is about to walk right into the snare. The text reveals that the syndicate's leader, Jian Rui, and the primary target, Hua Yunlong, coincidentally leave the temple on other business just before the inspector's messenger arrives.
Just bad timing for them.
Or good timing, depending on how you look at it. So the bait is taken by the daytime lame monk, Feng Yuanzi. Now, Feng is a fascinating character because he openly admits to his crew that the only reason he shaved his head and put on monk's robes was because he suffered a leg injury and couldn't hack it as a traditional thief anymore.
He's totally transparent about it.
Yeah, he has zero spiritual calling. He is completely unqualified. But he hobbles over to the inspection office, fully believing he is about to negotiate a massive payday.
He's so blinded by the prospect of silver that he walks right into Inspector Liu's office, completely unprepared for any real scrutiny.
And Inspector Liu plays his role to perfection. He welcomes Feng in, sits him down, and says, "So, if we are going to rebuild the temple, we need to discuss the budget. How much is this construction going to cost?"
That's a very basic question.
Right. And Feng, who is quite literally just a street thug wearing stolen robes, completely freezes. He knows absolutely nothing about architecture, materials, or temple management. He can't even fake a plausible number.
It is a beautiful, agonizing moment of exposure. The silence just hangs in the air.
Yeah.
And Inspector Liu finally says, "Well, if you can't tell me, I happen to have an expert monk waiting right here to consult."
And boom. Jigong throws back the curtain from the inner room and steps out. He points his finger, uses his body-fixing magic to freeze Feng right where he sits, and then calmly walks over and reaches directly into Feng's pouch.
Right into his pocket.
And what does he pull out? The exact item the constables need to prove everything. The stolen sea-catching document.
Before we move on, we really need to explain the weight of a sea-catching document. That isn't just a generic arrest warrant.
Oh, it isn't.
No. In Imperial Chinese law enforcement, a sea-catching document, or haibu, implies a dragnet so wide it could sweep the ocean.
Whoa. So it's huge.
It was a high-level, unyielding mandate from the state. The fact that the criminals had the audacity to steal the state's most aggressive warrant shows their utter contempt for the law, which makes Feng having it in his pocket incredibly devastating.
It reads exactly like a classic noir detective movie reveal. You know, you have the brilliant detective stepping out of the shadows, confronting the killer, and pulling the smoking gun right out of the suspect's coat pocket.
Exactly.
But here is where my modern sensibilities get a little confused. To me, Jigong frisking a suspect feels completely out of character for an enlightened holy man. It's like seeing the Pope dust a crime scene for fingerprints.
That's a great image.
Right. Like, he has divine sight. Why is he doing a physical police pat-down?
Well, the text actually uses that moment to showcase his unique duality. Think about his role in this society. He has the divine omniscience to know exactly what is inside Feng's pouch without looking, but he is operating in a secular world that requires legal evidence.
Ah, I see.
He is translating divine knowledge into a bureaucratic reality. He uses the physical mechanisms of law enforcement to reveal the truth to the secular authorities. It's bridging the gap between heaven and the state.
That makes a lot of sense. He's providing the inspector with the paper trail he needs to actually do his job.
Exactly, and look at the poetic justice of who he is punishing here. Feng's downfall wasn't just his greed, it was his profound ignorance of the very disguise he was wearing.
Right, he knew nothing about temples.
He couldn't even fake a basic conversation about temple renovations. Jigong is punishing not just the crime of theft, but the hubris of the criminal. Feng thought he could mock the entire monastic order by wearing the robes purely for profit, and a true enlightened monk exposed his ignorance in a matter of seconds.
It is deeply satisfying to read. So Feng is locked up, the stolen document is recovered, but they still haven't caught the main syndicate, who are still running their extortion racket across the county.
The big bosses are still out there.
Exactly. So Jigong and the 4 constables marshal their forces and march directly toward the Iron Buddha Temple to finish the job. And the author pauses here to paint an incredibly vivid, almost cinematic picture of this location.
And the architectural setting is critical here because it visually represents the immense stakes of this final confrontation. We aren't just walking into a back alley hideout.
Not at all. The text describes massive, chaotic crowds pushing and shoving at the temple gates. It is a full-blown marketplace of misery. You have opportunistic merchants setting up stalls, selling food and cheap goods to the endless stream of desperate, sick people who have traveled miles to buy the dropsy cure.
It's an entire economy built on suffering.
Yes, and the architecture of the temple itself is imposing. There are 3 massive open mountain gates. There are 2 towering flagpoles outside the entrance and 2 more in the inner courtyard. And hanging above the main entrance is a grand official plaque that reads, Imperially Built Nation-Protecting Iron Buddha Temple.
I want to bookmark that plaque because that phrase, imperially built, is doing an incredible amount of heavy lifting in this narrative.
We will definitely come back to the political implications of that. The text goes on to map out the interior. 5 main halls, 5 side rooms, green folding screens, and over 100 rooms in total.
It's huge.
It is a massive, sprawling, wealthy complex. It is a fortified institution. And as Jigong steps through the east corner gate and looks toward the first main hall where the titular Iron Buddha is housed, the narrative takes a violent, jarring turn.
It really does.
Jigong looks up, and shooting straight out of the roof of the main hall, rising high into the heavens and piercing the sky between the Dipper and the Ox constellations, is a terrifying, black, demonic aura.
The atmosphere of the story completely shatters and reforms in a single sentence.
Jigong stops dead in his tracks. He looks at this massive pillar of evil energy, puts his hands together, and simply chants, Amitabha, excellent, excellent, and the chapter ends right there.
What a place to end it.
It is a massive cliffhanger, with Jigong preparing to unleash his full Buddhist magic to battle whatever ancient horror is inside.